Morning, everybody. And for once, it's happy Mondays for those turning up in Westminster. Still a bit wet behind the ears and yawning a lot this morning. Welcome to the news agenda with me, Fleet Street Fox. And joining me today is friend of the show, Count Binface. And he's somewhere very special. Count Binface, for those people listening on podcast, you appear to be sitting on the green benches of Parliament. What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you lose?
Well, Fleet Street Fox, losing, as we can come on to that, losing is a subjective term, and I would say I only lost numerically. And theoretically and morally, sixth place with my record ever number of parliamentary votes. I'm cock-a-hoop. And, Sir Keir is off round the UK, gallivanting around to demonstrate how prime ministerial he is, trying to keep the whole show together, and the House of Commons is empty. So I thought, well, I'll park myself here for a little bit. Lovely.
This looks very nice. Make the most of the bars while they're still there. Apparently, Sue Gray's going to shut some of them down, so the beer will start getting more expensive. Now, before we get
like a party.
Yeah. Now, I assume, Count, that now the election's over, your presence isn't really required here on Earth any longer. You're going to be heading back to your own galaxy for the next 5 years, aren't you?
Well, you might think that, but that would suggest that things are okay on your planet. And of course, there's the small matter of a United States presidential election. And I think your viewers and listeners would agree, this might not be saying much, but they'll agree, that I am genuinely a saner choice of United States president than either of the ones that their system is offering. So, I've got to keep my lid in the ring for that one. And between now and then, here comes the plug. I've got a UK comedy tour, Fleet Street Fox. I'm going on my history lap around the UK. It starts on September the 12th in Cardiff. And I urge all of your followers to go to countbinface.com/tour, and you can see a brand new form of sci-fi satire, the likes of which the world has never seen. So get yourself over and come and meet the Count in the flesh.
There you go. You've heard it, everybody. Now, before we get on to the news, though, I want to have a quick chat with the dustbin, because you were standing in Rishi Sunak's constituency of Richmond and Northallerton. You were there into the wee hours, some of the footage we've just seen with some of the other independent candidates, and without even a breathing straw to keep you going, what was it like to be the Count at the Count? Can you give us any sort of behind the ballot box insights as to how the evening went?
I certainly can. If you can imagine, there's a story in the news today that Las Vegas has reached 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that is mere child's play as to what it's like inside this 4 a.m. in Northallerton Leisure Centre on election night. I can tell you that for nothing. It was a punishing night, but it was worth it. It was worth the smell of chlorine emanating from the swimming pool to have my moment with Rishi and to see him defenestrated like a window that's been smashed massively. So, you know.
But was he, as Steve says, all hail Count Binface. Rasmus on Twitter says British journalism is special. Of course we are. We do the best stuff. How was Rishi? Was he there for the whole night?
He bloody wasn't. I don't know how rude I can get on this show.
Not allowed to do swears.
You what? No,
you're not allowed to do the bad swears because it's Facebook and then funny.
Okay. Oh, we don't want Zuckerberg on the case. Oh dear. But or Clegg, blimey, even worse. But that's the thing. You see, the Count was supposed to be due around 4 a.m. and way past 4:30 in the morning. We were all still standing there waiting for Rishi. It looked like he was there. I mean, I say it looked like. I can barely see anything in this thing. But it looked like he was there, but sort of probably crying backstage into his luxury porridge as he was waiting to see just how many of his mates had been, thrown into the molten lava of electoral defeat. And eventually he popped in and was in and out quicker than you can say Boris Johnson at a private members club. So, you know.
Did he shake your hand? Did he congratulate you on your brilliant record-breaking showing?
My memory is a bit hazy. I think I did get a handshake, and I did say good evening to him. There was another prankster. Another prankster. What's he saying? there was a prankster there who was trying to unnerve Rishi. I didn't like that. But I had a chat with him, and I shared, a sort of shared experience. People might not know this, but way back, because I'm over 5,000 years old. But once upon a time, I won a Space Road scholarship to Oxford University. I got to see how your education system works. Very interesting. So I said to old Sunak, I postulated which one of us used an Oxford education more productively. I'm beginning to think it was me.
The man with the dustbin on his head. Yeah, it could well be. Who knows? Now, if you stand again ever for Parliament, obviously you mentioned the US presidential election. I think you've got to be quick to get your nomination over there. I'm not sure they would react gently to the idea of a space alien standing for the presidency. But if you stand again in this country, do you know yet where it might be? Is there anyone?
Time will tell. One would assume with a whopping great majority that there won't be a general election for a good 4 years, or dare I say it, 3 years and 10 months if you've got a time machine. So just in case all those Tories want to get down to William Hill. I feel like, who knows? British politics is so febrile that even Sakir's majority could go up in smoke very quickly. And there could be, who knows what kind of curious by-election or mayoralty election around the country. So although Sigma 9 remains the focus of my attention, and I'm not just saying that because people from Sigma 9 are watching this, I do keep a steady visor on Earth affairs, and if the timing's right, you never know.
No, well, hopefully Clacton one day will be calling your name. We'll have to see, won't we? Daniel says he took an L. I don't know what that means. Now, this is the People's Pay-Per-View, so get into the comments, ask us your questions. We'll do our best to answer them for you. If you have anything you want to ask Count Binface before he has to leave the parliamentary benches for actually some people who won their election to sit on, then do let us know. Now, just as a quick spoiler, all the news today is sort of the same as last week, but marginally better. Those of you listening later on podcast are just going to have to try again to listen to this tomorrow, just like the French do. So what have we got for you today? Well, the Mirror has splashed on a speech by our first woman chancellor, Rachel Reeves. She's going to be giving it later this morning, in which she vows to make every Brit better off. Now, she says the Tory handling of the economy left us £58 billion short. And she managed to get that analysis over the weekend, apparently, out of the Treasury. She's doing more than anyone else can out of the tax man after 5 o'clock on a Friday. Now, more on that later. But first, let's go to page 2, where the French, who voted for a far-right government last week, have this week gone back to the polls and voted in the lefties, which has the net effect of a centre-left coalition in all probability. And Count Binface, is it a weight off your mind that there won't be any Nazis goose-stepping down the Champs-Elysees again anytime soon?
It most certainly is. Absolutely. I'm sure this goes for every... I'm preaching to the choir here, the Daily Mirror, right? Obviously, I can't believe anyone here with us is thinking, oh, what a shame Marine Le Pen didn't get it. I don't think this is a controversial statement. But no, of course, you don't want the lunatics to get it. But I love that about the French, don't you? That they keep you interested with this first round where they be all contrary and get the entire Western world thinking, oh, my God, the fascists are coming. And then they go, ha-ha, now you're paying attention. No, don't be daft. We hate them, really. I think that's fantastic. What a wonderful way to get you interested in their politics. Not as interesting as me, of course, but anything which sort of can pique the interest of the voters and the mainstream media away from the right-wing scumbags is great. I think that was a very clever move.
It does seem to be sort of quite special. What do you think, everybody? Do you think voting twice might be the way to go? How would the Brexit referendum have gone if that was the case? How would last Thursday have gone if we were going to go back again to the polls this Thursday? Who knows what the difference might be? What do you think? Would you vote differently from 1 week to the next? It seems like voting twice might be a better way of doing it, even, dare I say it, slightly more English, right? Because it makes me think of, I'm going to protest, but not too loudly. And I'm going to register a complaint, but don't worry about yourself about it. It'll be okay. Do you think this is a system the British should install Camp Binface? I mean, if they voted again next week, how do you think your chances would be?
Well, this is it. As a well-respected journalist, you're bound to have read up on all my previous manifestos. Otherwise, you're an amateur who obviously doesn't need a job. But no, of course you have. But so I'm telling you what you already know here. But one of my early policies was with Brexit to have a referendum about whether there should be another referendum. So this whole policy you're talking about, I've been way on board with this right from the start, you know. So I love the idea of voting twice. You get a dummy run or a best of three, and the voters get a nice chance to see just how bad things might be. But I think with the general election, if you had to have this last week's election again, it would be the equivalent of having VAR in football. You know, where you love the moment of the goal. The landslide victory was the goal, and everyone's celebrating like crazy. But if they then had to sort of wait another week to see if we really meant it, it would take all the fun out of seeing Rees-Mogg destroyed and trust destroyed. So I think you've got to be careful when you use it.
Yes, I can see that. I see that VAR in politics would be, well, it really would destroy the news cycle for one thing. Autumn Winter Lover says the French result was tactical voting, cheating, like it was here in the UK. Le Pen has eyes on the presidency in a couple of years. Marine Le Pen, this is the leader of the far-right National Rally group. There she is, daughter of the original actual Nazi, I think he was, who founded the party. Hello, we've gone all black. No, we're here again. So it seems like, you know, there may be something in it, but we might have to be a bit more careful about how we use it. Now, what do you think, everybody? Is this something that you're happy to do, or is this something that you can see some issues with? Get in the comments and let us know. We need to move on to the main story of the day. And the Mirror front page has Rachel Reeves and the speech in which she says this morning anyway, 10:30, that the Tory handling of the economy left us £58 billion short on taxes. We should have had that much in cash over the past 14 years. And she's going to reverse all that with, in part, mandatory house building targets for local authorities, which is going to go down really well in the home counties. Now, Camp Binface, you asked the Labour government on day one, you did this at your camp, you did a little video that I saw, demanding that on day one, Keir Starmer sort out the solvable problem of homelessness. Where do you stand on mandatory local authority house building targets? Is that going to help?
Well, I mean, it might do. I mean, homelessness is much more easily solved than that. I mean, just to say, because people love it when they hear that their friendly neighborhood space warrior has done his research. You're quoting this 58 billion figure. On the news this morning, I intercepted a transmission saying in total, she's saying Britain is 140 billion less well off than competitor economies. Thanks to
I think the difference is it's 140 odd billion less well off. That's how much our economy should have grown. But the 58 billion is the taxes we would have clawed out of that as a result.
Right. Well, but that headline figure is incredible, right?
Yeah.
That is still a baseline comparison, which says, I mean, and it's curious, isn't it? 14 years, 140 billion. So you can actually easily calculate how bad the Tories are each year for the British economy. I love that. But I mean, look, homelessness is simple. There is absolutely no reason anybody shouldn't have a safe space to sleep. And if you can't fix it another way, you use the Binface policy, which is that the royal family have got at least 6 palaces in London. They only need 1, and I would give 5 of them to the homeless and give it to refugees for people who need them. And Charlie and all his mates can shack up in 1 palace. That should be more than enough. I think that's a very sympathetic Binface policy. But as for house building, and we have this issue on Sigma 9, that you get all these nimbus, you know, not in my back universe. And you've just got to find clever ways to navigate around them, because ultimately you can't have it both ways. You can't not build houses and build them nowhere. You know, they've got to be built somewhere. You know, I do agree that the UK has some lovely bits of land, and I mean, I want to conquer some of them, so I don't want them being built on already. But maybe here's a thought: build the houses where you might have a tiny bit of infrastructure, like schools, roads, and doctors' surgeries, so that you don't kick the can down the road and cause gigantic social problems in a few years' time. I'm just putting it out there.
Just an idea. The idea of putting people in palaces is quite a good one because, of course, there isn't any neighbours nearby to get upset about the refugees. Then they could just all go there, and it would be a bit. And they're all crumbling and falling down anyway, so they're not going to be too expensive. One would have thought to run. What do you think, everybody? How do you feel about mandatory house building targets? That's one of the first Labour policies that's come out. Local authorities, local councils are going to be told you must build X number of houses, otherwise you're going to get fined. Leslie says, morning, Leslie, what's the point of building more houses and we can't manage what we already have? How many empty homes and second homes are there? Millions is the answer. My personal favourite for curing the homelessness problem, Binface, is churches. I think this is what Jesus would do. And I think there's an awful lot of empty buildings in every goddamn village and town and half the streets in our cities. And they're not used most of the time. They've got nice, well, quite hard benches, but you could easily put a mattress down. And I think they could house quite a few people in there. And it would be very much, the kind of thing that their faith, all faiths actually, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, would all be like bang alongside. I don't see why churches don't open their doors.
Well, I think there we've got it, Daily Mirror. You've got your Monday morning scoop. Mirror declares war on the church.
Yes.
Like they're the next Henry VIII. Well, good luck to you on that one. I'm sure that will go down very, very well across the country. Look, I that comment about the second homes is a very important one, which is why I have stated for several years that I would double council tax on second homes, treble it on third homes, and so on. And unlike those cowardly Labourites, I would actually recalculate the council tax bands. How's that for a bunch of apples? I would put everyone in bands A to C now into a category where they have to pay no council tax. That's band. And the current billionaires can pick up all the slack. Lovely jubbly.
Well, Rishi Sunak's got 3 houses, so he'll be paying maximum, unless, of course, he chooses to leave the country. We haven't seen him yet anywhere, waiting to see if he appears. There's a little roll-along suitcase behind him or something. I'm sure he'll be in Westminster tomorrow, where he'll have to be sitting on the other benches for once, with very few people behind him. Won't that be a shame and a dreadful thing to see? Now, but inside the paper, there's a 2-page spread about the first days of the Labour government. And despite all the scaremongering we've had in the past week of the election campaign, about Keir Starmer taking Friday nights off, he seems to have made up for it by working the entire weekend, the poor devil. He appointed his cabinet on Saturday. He toured Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland to meet the First Ministers on Sunday. Here we are on Monday, expecting a blizzard of press releases about what they're going to do first. Now, Count Binface, I don't know, I nearly called you Count Boniface, not again. Count Binface, have you noticed that in this long article about what Rachel Reeves is going to say today and how awful the past 14 years have been, there's not an awful lot of detail on what they're actually going to do?
Are you surprised?
No.
That's what they've done ever since he's been the leader. They're meat on the bones. The beauty of this manifesto of their majority is they've got it. Basically, their entire message is, we're not them. What more do you want? And it's worked a treat. I must just say, though, Fleet Street Fox, I mean, we know that Keir Starmer has apparently been working all weekend. What has his football team done without him? We haven't been told. Why have you guys not sent journalists off to find out if his team won without him or just how useful he was? Because I felt ever so sorry that this, the doughty midfielder or whatever he is, has left one field in order to go and play a more juicy one. So there's a backstage story there we need to find out. But as for what they're up to, I mean, come on, one weekend, I would do the same. I would try and get under the bonnet and find out just how bad things are, because it's like when you buy a house, I assume. You get the keys, you think you found something nice, and before you know it, it's made out of that rack concrete and it falls down on your head, and there's mold as well. So when you're lying there in a sort of semi-coma from the rack, and you're going, oh no, and the walls were moldy too. So the Labour Party need to find out just how bad the Tories have left it. Liam Byrne notes or no Liam Byrne notes, So
I'm sure there will be a few notes.
It's going to take a while, isn't it?
It will, and they are starting pretty quick, and they look like this is how they mean to go on. What do you think, everybody? Get into the comments. Let us know. Are you happy with how things are going so far? Is there anything you would like the government to tackle first? Steve says, how soon should Labour renationalise the railways and the water companies? I think everyone will say straight away, Steve, immediately. To do it. Yes, sign a piece of paper. There you go, renational. But they're back in Parliament tomorrow, and I do think that's something that would require some legislation. So I would suspect that once the new leader of the House and they get back in and everything else, that's when they'll start scheduling the laws.
Who's the new leader of the House? Just testing you.
Oh, I know her name. She was in the paper yesterday. It's a lady.
See, guys. Unbelievable.
Not Bridget Phillipson. She's education. I'll get there in a while. All right. It's the first week. Give me.
Okay, I'll let you off.
It's a lady. I can remember that much. They've all got brown bobs on the front bench. So it's a lady with a brown bob.
Okay. That'll do me.
Nothing. Daniel says Binface for PM, not Binface. You can't remember his names. But you know what? The poor speaker has to do it in House of Commons. He's got probably hundreds and hundreds of new people to look at. And all he can see is like Jacob Rees-Mogg's face. And he's got... Not anymore. But no, because he's got Jacob, he's got these flashcards with people's faces and their names and their constituencies. And he's got to learn them all. 650. Lucy Powell. Thank you, Kate. Yes, brown bob. There you go. It's Lucy
I didn't know that. I was just testing you. But you say that. But like Lindsay Hoyle, that is actually his job, though, Fleet Street folks. I mean, if my job was to sit on a throne and just remember a few names, I think I'd do that for the money. I'm just going to put that out there. And I reckon most of your viewers and listeners would. I mean, Guy Mowbray on the BBC can memorize 11 Romanians or 23 Romanians like that. So why can't Lindsay Hoyle remember a few new MPs? Easy peasy.
Yeah, and some of them are going to be easy. As Leslie says, that first PMQs is going to be interesting. Will Farage be there or not? You couldn't keep him away with a nuclear bomb, Leslie. And
I disagree. You could keep him away with a nuclear bomb.
I don't think. Well, we can try that one maybe. But the first PMQs is obviously going to be rammed. A lot of the new Labour MPs are going to have to sit on the opposition benches because there won't be room for them on the other side. There's never room for all 650 in there anyway because it was designed for, 2 centuries ago. But probably the first PMQs, I would expect the leaders of all the new parties are going to be the ones who get called first, which would be Starmer, Rishi Sunak, poor devil. You're going to have the leader of the Greens, Carla Denyer. Thank you. Remember that one from Bristol. Nigel Farage, who is leader of the Reform Not a Party Incorporated PLC. And Ed Davey, of course, the Lib Dems. Plaid, the SNP. They're probably going to be those ones that get
the Greens have got 2 leaders, though, the cheeky sods.
I know.
So how are they going to fit that? Do they get to ask half a question each? How are they going to do it?
That's Lindsay Hoyle, I feel for at this point. How does he know which one's leader today? It's going to be difficult, not very easy. So they've got this 2-page spread. They've got all this stuff that they're doing. Over the weekend, Defence Secretary John Healey was in Ukraine. New Health Secretary Wes Streeting was talking about starting talks with junior doctors and over the dentist contract too. On the top left of the spread, it's all very well flying about talking to people. They are going to have to actually get things done quite quickly. Keir Starmer did say he was going to pay out straight. The payout was important for those victims of the infected blood scandal. I know, Binface, you were asking about the postmasters and then being immediately exonerated straight away. That doesn't seem to have happened quite yet. But again, I think that's going to require the legislation.
He's got a week, Susie. He's got a week. I'm giving him 7 days from last Thursday. I like I say, I'm with you. He's not even got into Parliament yet. I'm here, squatting. And if he, not literally, not like that, but if he doesn't exonerate the postmasters and mistresses and make Fujitsu give them 100 grand each, well then my campaign will go up another notch, and you will see me make sure that his feet are held to the fire. There is no reason why those people should not have a chance to at least live out their lives in some degree of comfort after what they've suffered. It's an easy one. He's got a giant majority. The Lib Dems will back it. Ed Davey has to back it. So why not?
Exactly. And it doesn't, I don't think everyone's going to back it. No one could possibly reject that, I wouldn't have thought. And we also need to have, I would like in the first first couple of weeks, because it's going to be recessed soon. Something done on the nuclear test veterans. Keir, if you're listening, it's been 70 years, chum, and my campaign will step up a notch if we don't get anything. So you've been warned. Now, lots of MPs are flocking to Westminster today. Parliament's not back till tomorrow, as we said, but they're queuing up for their parliamentary passes. There'll be the family photo, to be all family photos, in which Keir sort of lines up, and the photographers try to get a shot of 412 people behind him somehow, in which nobody's blinking. But one person is heading out of Westminster, and that's Angela Rayner, who is on her way to Manchester to set up a department for levelling up the north. Binface, do you think this geographical change is going to make a difference to whether or not anything does get improved north of the M4?
No.
Oh, I was hoping it would, but at least, she can do
the move up to the office. That's a showy move. She can do it on Zoom, right? The thing that matters is actually moving from the phrase leveling up, which I would ban outside video games. I'm sick of it. It's a relic of Johnsonism, where you just say this phrase. What you're implying is that the North has been as badly treated as it has been. So you're proving just how terrible governments have been in the past without actually doing anything about it in the meantime. So how about a department for making the North actually as economically prosperous as it should be, and at least as prosperous as London? How about that?
Well, then you get the phrase Northern Powerhouse, which is George Osborne, and we all go, oh, God, no. So
yeah, well, I mean, I didn't mind that as long as every single area got a sort of a juicy one, like the East Anglian Accelerator or the Cornish Energy Bastard, something like that, and everyone could get involved. A bit like cricket teams in the 100. They could all have a very clever moniker.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a way forward. But I think it's a branding issue for Angela Rayner's department, then maybe. So we'll see if that makes any difference. But at least there will be, I suppose, some civil servants and officials working on levelling up, for a better phrase, in Manchester, which might be handy. So that's where we are. That's where we are with the news today. France is doing slightly better than it was last week. Britain's doing slightly better than it was last week. We're not waking up to a hellscape. That's what's good. And we have managed to find some even better news for you. And here it is. So we've had the French arms as revolting as they were last week, for once. The economy's still bad, at least someone's trying to fix it. And now we have even more good news. Brian Blessed is returning to his home galaxy. He says he's being fired into space. At the age of 87, no less, Prince Vultan from Flash Gordon will be returning to his home galaxy, he reckons, and is doing lots of exercise to get him ready, bench pressing and whatnot. Now, Brian Blessed does tend to say stuff, and it doesn't always get in the paper, but here it has. Count Binface, is this proof, do you think, Earth benefited enough from alien visitation? And perhaps, I don't know, Flash Gordon is already alive and living among us. We don't need Prince Vultan anymore.
Well, speaking as an ambassador from outside Earth, I've come from outer space to you. The idea that you would send Brian Blessed out, as that's kind of some kind of quid pro quo, I'm slightly offended by that. I still think this is a big story. I don't know why you haven't led with this on page one, even though it is recycled news, and it was a story from the Sunday Times, and he's basically saying, I trained as an astronaut ages ago, and I'd love to go up. So it's not like he actually is going to. But the good news, everyone, is, of course, in space, no one can hear you scream, Gordon's alive. So, there are many benefits to being an alien.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's time for you to enjoy Brian Blessed as much as we have for the past few years. We'll have to wait to see, won't we, whether he does get beamed back up or not.
He won't.
Hopefully not. We miss him terribly.
Exactly.
Right, thank you very much, Binface, for joining us. Having arrived back in Parliament, fresh from your camp, you're going to have to vacate the benches now, I'm afraid, though. The cleaners have got to come in and just wipe away the stains from wherever you've been sitting.
The cleaners love me. I'm the perfect ally for a cleaner. Look at me.
Yeah, watch out, though. You'll get some very dodgy stuff put in your lid if you stay there much longer.
Good point.
Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, everyone, for taking part. We will see you again on Wednesday with maybe an Earth being next time for another edition of the News Agenda. Until then, everybody, stay safe, take care, tatty bye.